What does it mean to become the property's first call? What does it mean to become the first call for a property manager? Some think that the first call status means that when there's an emergency, I'm the one they're calling. But yes, it's part of it. But in the world that I come from, I think there's a really different definition. The real goal is much deeper than that. And what we're talking about is TOMA, top of mind awareness. And top of mind awareness means when anything roof related comes up, they think of you first, not just in an emergency, not just when water is dripping into the tenant space. I'm talking about everything: repairs, maintenance, budgeting, reserve planning, restoration work, replacement work, capital expenditures, all of it. You become so relevant, so trusted, so connected that they can't even think about their building and not wanting to include you into that conversation first. I think that's first call status. And there's a reason that this matters, because a lot of contractors, they're chasing the wrong thing. They're trying to become memorable when they should become meaningful. There's a difference. A lot of guys believe that if they just provide good service, show up on time, do good quality work, send the invoice, that should be enough to build loyalty. But the truth is that this kind of thinking keeps you stuck in a transactional category, and that transactional contractors rarely become the first call. They might get called sometimes. They might get work here and there. They may even have an amazing reputation, but they're still just one of several options. They're still replaceable. They're still competing every single time a new issue comes up because they've never made that shift from transactional to relational, because moving from transactional to relational is not about just being friendlier. It's not about just following up more often or taking to somebody to lunch every once in a while. It's a completely different trust process. Transactional trust is basically like, can you do this work? Relational trust is deeper. It sounds more like, do I trust you to help me make the right decision? Do I trust you to think ahead? Do I trust you to protect me from making a mistake? Do I trust you to help me manage this asset in a way that supports my bigger responsibilities? It's a different level of trust, and property managers aren't just looking for somebody who can fix a roof. They're looking for somebody who can help them manage risk, manage budgets, manage expectations, and protect the value of that community. That's why great service alone is not normally enough. Good service is expected. Good workmanship is expected. Responsiveness is expected. Those things matter, absolutely, but they're the floor. They're not the ceiling. That is the bar to even stay in the game. It's not what creates first call status. First call status is built when you differentiate yourself in a way that goes way beyond the normal bar of service and starts creating real strategic value. Staying focused on the roof as a standalone problem while the property manager is the one looking at the roof as a much bigger piece of the business equation. The property manager is not just thinking like, how do I fix this leak? They're thinking, how do I avoid disruption for my residents? How do I plan for future capital expenditures? How do I explain this to ownership? How does this affect my reserve study? How does this impact my NOI? How does this influence the long-term valuation of the building? That's the level that they're living on. So if you show up only talking about shingles or overlaps or seams or drains or punctures or square footage, you're not connecting your expertise to the bigger picture they may care about. You may be competent. You may be an amazing roofer, but it's not going to help you cross that bridge to become a strategic partner. And if you don't become a strategic partner, you probably won't become the first call. For me, this is where differentiation really starts. You have to stop thinking about, how do I be seen as a roofer, and how do I start thinking about becoming a strategic partner who happens to be in the roofing business. And I think there's a massive difference, because a roofer who waits to be told what's wrong, right? A strategic partner helps identify issues before they become bigger problem. A roofer reacts, a strategic partner guides. A roofer gives a price, a strategic partner gives perspective. When you start showing up that way consistently, something begins to change in the relationship. You stop being viewed as just another vendor in a crowded market and you start becoming part of the decision making process. That's what we want. This is where we get to build the moat around the community. I like to say this stuff all the time. You want to serve at such a high level that you build a moat around that property and fill that darn thing with saltwater crocodiles so your competitors can't cross over it. Now, obviously, that's just a picture, but the point is real. You want to create such a strong relationship, such a high level of trust, such clear value, such consistent relevance that your competitors can't even just show up with a lower price and just steal your spot. Because by then, the relationship is no longer built on price alone. It's built on confidence. It's built on strategic trust. It's built on the fact that you understand the property, you understand the history, you understand the plan, and you understand how roofing decisions affect the bigger financial and operational goals. That kind of moat doesn't get built in one meeting. It's built in a sequence. It's another place where contractors sometimes get it wrong. They just want to jump straight. They want to leapfrog straight to the biggest project. They want to walk in and they want to land that replacement. But most strong long-term relationships, they don't start there. Usually the path happens in a certain order. It starts with repairs, moves to maintenance, then goes to restoration or replacement, depending on the type of system, then all over again with maintenance. And every stage gives you the opportunity to prove something new. A repair proves responsiveness and competence. It shows that you can solve a problem. Maintenance proves consistency and care. It shows them that you can help protect the roof over time, not just show up when things go bad. Restoration proves vision. It shows them that you can help extend the life of that roof and think proactively. Replacement proves that they can trust you at the highest level because by the time they hand you a major capital project, they're not just hiring you to install a system, they're trusting you with major decisions that affect budget, operations, planning, and asset performance. That's why this process matters. You earn the right to have bigger conversations by how you handle the small ones. And once you understand that, you stop chasing transactions and start building progression. That progression is what creates top of mind awareness, TOMA. Because the more value you create at each stage, you more naturally become part of every future conversation. And when a reserve study comes up, they think of you. When ownership asks about capital planning, they think of you. When they need to justify a repair versus restoration, they think of you. When they're trying to protect the NOI, reduce surprises, preserve the building's value, guess what? They think of you. That's TOMA. That's first call status. And if you want to be top of mind, you can't just market harder. You have to matter more. You have to become someone who understands how property managers actually make decisions. They're looking through the lens of those reserve studies. They're looking through the lens of CapEx planning. They're looking through the lens of protecting the NOI and controlling risk. They're looking through the lens that's buildings valuation and the long-term performance of that. So if you can speak into those things, not just the roof itself, you immediately begin to separate yourself. Immediately separate yourself. Again, immediately. You'll differentiate yourself from everybody else. Now, you're not just the guy that they call to patch something. You're someone who helps them think strategically. And people who help other people think clearly are the ones who get brought back into the room again and again and again. It's the real win. So if you're a contractor watching this and you want to become the first call, you could start asking yourself, how do I get them to call me when something goes wrong? You can ask beyond that. Ask beyond that simple question. Start asking, how do I become so trusted, so useful, so strategically valuable that they don't want to make a roofing decision without me? That's a different type of question, and it leads to different business because the goal is not just to be known. The goal is to be trusted. The goal is not to just be available. The goal is to be valuable. The goal is not to just complete work. The goal is to protect the asset, support the plan, and strengthen the client's confidence in their decision-making process with you. When you stop being a transactional contractor, you become a relational contractor. When you become relational, you stop competing the same way that everyone else competes. You stop fighting to be remembered, and you start becoming impossible to ignore. That's how the first call status is really built. It's built through top of mind awareness. It's built through differentiation. It's built through trust. It's built through process. And ultimately, it's built by becoming a strategic partner that just happens to be in the roofing business. If this message resonates with you and you're serious about building stronger relationships, winning better clients, and positioning yourself as much more than just another contractor, stay connected to the channel, because this is exactly the kind of conversation we're going to continue to have. I'm here to help you think bigger, serve better, and build the kind of trust that can change everything.